Dear chess friends, welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to the round 5 of the Qatar Masters in 2023. So from this round I've sorted out really a beautiful gameplay by Magnus Carlsen against Bharath Subramaniyam. Bharath Subramaniyam, also very interesting player. He's only 16 years old. He's also from India. He's part of this new Indian wave that we have talked about now many times. He's only 16 years old. He's a grandmaster already. He has of course a bright future in the chess community, but today he's facing now with the black pieces the shark Magnus Carlsen. So let's see now what happened. In my opinion, a beautiful, spectacular game here with cool tactics, but also with amazing middle game ideas. So with the white pieces, Magnus opened with move e4. Bharath's response was e5, knight to f3. We have knight to c6, and after bishop to c4, we have the Italian game. We have the two knights of fence, d3, normal development, h6, preventing, of course, to get pinned by the bishop here on g5, and now after kingside, castling d6, we have now the normal idea here by white, expansion on the queen side with c3, b4. We can also, of course, hit further the knight here on c6. So in the game, Bharath plays now a very interesting line with the move g6. I will not say this is a mistake or something. Has been played many times. In one game that I see here in the database, for instance, the legendary Vasily Ivanchuk won in top GM level a game with the black pieces in these types of structures. But usually the Dashku bishop should be somewhere here. After bishop to e7, at least it's controlling this diagonal. On this diagonal, when you play the fianchetto, then it's a little bit blocked out by its own pawn. But okay, the main concept about this move g6 is by black now in some lines to push the pawn on f5. So with the support of the g6 pawn, we're trying to play f5 and then connect maybe g takes f5, and then we have maybe here a certain pawn mobility here on this side of the board. Interesting choice, as I said, but a little bit risky because you create also many weaknesses in front of the king. So Magnus continues with normal structures of the Italian game from white perspective. c3. We have bishop to g7, as said, f5, the main goal. Knight from b2, d2, castling b4, king to h7. You could maybe here try to move d5 instead of king to h7, but it's still risky. Look at this. After knight to d5, actually, white doesn't have to react. Even if you play something like, I don't know, knight to c3, you could maybe break and enter. You have to play e4 in order to save the knight, but we pick up now here also the pawn. So in my opinion, not a good continuation anymore for black. So that's why here from king to h7 that Bharath played. Magnus goes again with normal ideas. He plays basically the moves that he would have played anyway in any lines, I think, of the Italian opening. Basically, he's waiting now Bharath to show his cards where he's going to attack. So in the game, knight to h5. So you see Bharath immediately shows his cards with this idea, knight to f4, and then he's trying also to play this aggressive method, f5. Magnus goes with b5, knight to a5, and now after bishop to a2, now comes the first critical moment of this particular game. Bharath goes all in, plays aggressively with the move f5 anyway. So the engine doesn't like this move because you're not ready, I think, to launch this kind of an attack. Your king is kind of exposed here on h7. With this diagonal, we can also always include the bishop on b1. There are some tensions here. It is playable, but Magnus Carlsen is saying here immediately, show me what you got. I play e takes f5. If you play here g takes f5, then you're vulnerable here again. Look at this, knight to e5 in some lines is possible. There is always the opportunity to pick up this loose knight. So that's why you have to now take on out with the bishop, and you have basically lost the main concept that you wanted to get. You wanted to, of course, have these two pawns connected. You want to have this pawn mobility, this pawn storm here on this side of the board. Maybe a better choice instead of this move f5 was simply to break also Magnus Carlsen's advantage here with the move a6. Now, for something like, I don't know, knight to f1, we simply pick up now the pawn. You can also pick up the pawn, or you can maybe play rook to b1. Now we pick up again the pawn, and after a takes b5, maybe queen to e8 with the preparation then to play the move f5, pardon me, bishop to e6 first, competing against this lightfoot bishop, and then maybe later, if possible, hit the center with the move f5. But this was a little bit too rushed. Magnus is saying, as I said, e takes f5. We see after g takes f5, knight to e5 would be then the winning tactic then for white. So that's why bishop to f5. But now Magnus breaks and enters here with the move d4. Good choice by Magnus. He's not tolerating any spaces by black here. In the game now, Bharath plays another follow-up, another not good move here from black's perspective, knight to f4. Tempting move, of course. It seems so that you gain something, but actually there's simply too much pressure around the square. e5. The better choice again here for Bharath was simply maybe battle for the center, because Magnus never really battled so far for the d4 square because the knight is standing in the way. You can maybe try something like on bishop to b1 with take, and now after a couple more moves, okay, probably white will get the pawn back. Black will continue maybe with the isolated d pawn, but it's still risky. Look at this. We play knight to f4, you pick up the pawn. We play here bishop to d4, knight to d4. The queen gets into the game. You have to play really strange moves like queen to f3. This is, for instance, one of the suggested lines by top engines. I'm not saying this is completely good here for black. This is not winning or something for black, but at least you keep an attacking flow. At least you attack somehow here white's position. But here Bharath played now the move knight to f4, and as I said, it's tempting. I myself would probably also play this move knight to f4 because now we have this powerful knight, but Magnus is, as I said, playing a beautiful knight to e4, a calm move. We have now the move d5 by Bharath, but now bishop takes f4. Magnus is not tolerating any pieces on his side of the board. We have now bishop to e4. Magnus grabs now the pawn on e5. We have bishop to f3, g takes f3, and after knight to c4 here, bishop to g3. Magnus is now up a pawn, has now the bishop pair, although the structure is a little bit weakened here in front of the king, but it's really long run to get this knight somehow into the attack. Even if you try knight to d6, then the d5 pawn is weak. So I'm not seeing good ways really how are we going to include this loose knight on c4 somehow into the attack. So from this point on, I think the game really becomes a one-way ticket in white's favor. So h5, h4. Magnus is not trying, not allowing here to get maybe even attacked by the h4 move. We have a6, bishop to c4, d takes c4, and now Magnus improves simply the position of the queen, connects now the rooks, attacks also the weak c4 pawn. After a takes b5, a takes b5, we have now queen to d5 by Bharath, and it seems so that Magnus is maybe losing a pawn, but Magnus found a really stunning counter-attack idea. Maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the best continuation here for white. It's maybe even sometimes hard to see this kind of tactics in the middle game stage where you have to connect your pieces in a good way, but let's practice. There are really some cool ideas. As I said, try to see now the best continuation here for white. How are you going to defend this pawn? We can, of course, protect the pawn with the move rook to b1, but Magnus found a more tactical or more beautiful way with queen to e4. After queen takes b5, we have rook takes a8, rook takes a8, and now rook to b1. Now you see how Magnus got the rook in the beautiful way into the game. Now the c7 is weak, and basically the whole position for black is collapsing. We have queen to c3, we have rook takes c7. Look how Magnus is playing beautiful tactics, because you cannot pick up, of course, the pawn on d4. Queen takes d4 wins the game. You cannot pick up the, of course, with the bishop. The rook is pinning the bishop. So after rook to c7, we have rook to a1. Nothing spectacular gain here for black because Magnus can hide. Has now really a beautiful structure here. Has now really a nice house that Magnus built here for the king, so the king cannot be attacked. In my opinion, not a good continuation anymore for black. So if you try something like queen to c1 here to maybe deliver annoying checks or maybe even checkmate on h1, then you get this one, rook to g7. This wasn't played in the game. In the game, rook to e1 was played by Bharath, but as I said, even if you try queen to c1, then you get some tactics. If you get here to h6, then bishop to f4 is going to happen. The queen is lost. If you try something like king to f7 to escape, then you get a couple of checks, and whenever you go in front of the queen, again we have the discovery. If you go somewhere else, if you go maybe here to e8, then actually you get checkmated. That's the issue. So you cannot go both sides. So game over again here for black. So that's why after king to g2, Bharath tried rook to e1. But again, I think this tactic would work. Rook to g7. That Magnus Carlsen didn't play. He played something else, but also good continuation by Magnus. But again, rook to g7 is the winning tactic. Look at this, king to g7, bishop to e5, queen to f4. Now we deliver a couple of checks, and here is the checkmate. If you again escape to f7, then we can again do some very unpleasant checks, and the main goal now is to play the move bishop to f8 with the threat queen to d7, queen to g7, checkmate. You have to go now to g8, but again, this discovered attacks. It's a different discovered attack, but with the same idea. Again, you lose the queen, and it's game over. So here, Magnus played queen to d5 instead of rook to g7. Also, nice continuation. We have queen to c1 by Bharath, and now bishop to h2. Magnus is not allowing to get checked here in a good way, so that's why here Bharath tried rook to e2, but now a beautiful idea here by Magnus, queen to f7. Bharath tried to deliver some perpetuals, of course, rook to f2. If you take, then the risk, of course, to get some perpetuals. But Magnus played now a calm move, king to g3. The queen drops back, and here Magnus Carlsen played a beautiful idea. Queen to g7. After queen to g7, king takes f2. Look at this. This bishop is protecting now the piece, and the game is over here for black in this particular position. Bharath resigned. So great game by Magnus. Interesting ideas of the Italian opening. This was quite spectacular. This was, I think, quite instructive also what Magnus did here. Never got frightened by Bharath's attacks. Also brave choice, I think, by Bharath to go into this aggressive line. But you see sometimes this attacking methods can be strange. It's not so easy to attack Magnus Carlsen. Magnus Carlsen not only a great attacker, he's also a great defender. He finds counterattacks. Beautiful game here played by Magnus Carlsen. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. Really good game here played by Magnus Carlsen. After 5 rounds, Magnus has now 3 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. He has to now, I think, to win the next couple of games if he wants to finish this tournament on the first place. Still, tough time will have for sure, because he didn't play so far, I think, with the top GMs like Gukesh, Hikaru Nakamura, Arjun. So now the tournament is heating up. We'll see what Magnus can do now in the Qatar Masters in 2023. Okay, if you want to see some other content here on my YouTube chat channel, check out my commented chat schemes. Here's the link of our playlist. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos. And what do we say? Chess is the best, of course.